So the big question is this: how do veterinarians like you, who live demanding lives,
who never seem to have enough time, be able to achieve balance and take control of your finances with confidence?
That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers.
We are Florida Veterinary Advisors, and this is the Smarter Vet Podcast. Hey, Smarter Vet, welcome back to the Smarter Vet Financial Podcast. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We're so glad to have you here. My name is Tom Seeko. I'm co-host of the podcast and also co-founder of Florida Veterinary Advisors, a national personal and business financial planning firm devoted to providing you a different way of thinking to make financial decisions easy so you can spend time doing other things that you love. If you're looking for other stuff to nerd out on after this conversation, we've got tons of podcasts. We also have master classes, assessments, a bunch of things you can find through our website. And if you want to snag a copy of our book of Unleashed, the financial clarity every veterinarian needs, you can grab that through Amazon and paperback or Kindle. I'm really excited to have this conversation today with our guest. It's been someone that I think we've been trying to nail down for quite some time, and she's got a lot of energy. And I'm very excited to share with you all her just experience in the world that she's been in up to this point in time. And I want to bring into the conversation now, her name is Dr. Molly McAllister. She is the Global Chief Medical Officer for Mars Veterinary Health. And she actually told me to make sure to say veterinary health because there's a lot of stuff going on here. And Molly, it's so awesome to have you here. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much, Tom. I'm super excited. And you certainly are hitting on a topic that is so relevant to veterinary professionals. So I thank you for that.
Absolutely. I would like for you to take a moment because, I'm sure a lot of people have gotten to know you over time. And for any of them that haven't gotten to know you, how did you go from, getting into veterinary medicine to where you are right now? Like, what was that journey?
Yeah, it's, I could take a long time to tell the details, but I'd say that the high level overview is, I went into veterinary school not as one of the many who knew that was what I wanted to do from age 4. I was a late comer. I'd always loved animals and science, but I'd explored other career possibilities as I went through high school and college. And so it was only after I explored a few avenues and sort of hit barriers or found they weren't the right path for me that in talking to some mentors, they came back and said, why aren't you looking at veterinary medicine? And it was kind of an epiphany for me a couple of years after college. So I came into veterinary school with a sense that I could do a lot or that there was a lot of possibility because I hadn't nailed down a specific focus for my career. That said, I think like most, I went into school thinking I would be a clinician of some sort. So I dabbled around and tried a lot of things in veterinary school. I came out and did an equine internship. And then after a few years, moved into small animal medicine and had a great time practicing, but realized after numerous years that there was an opportunity for me to have an impact beyond what I could see in the exam room. Loved my clients, loved my patients, but at the end of the day, those 15 or 20 families were the ones that I was able to impact. And so I started thinking about what that could be. And that ultimately led me to a job in industry with Royal Canin, which is part of the Mars family. And lo and behold, 16 years later, I've followed this career jungle gym that has led me into education and learning and development. I'm a data geek, so I did a lot of work with population health and epidemiology, and then found this leadership pathway that is, to me, kind of the ultimate way to impact beyond what I alone can do. And so here I am. I would have never, I would have put all the money I didn't have on the table back at graduation from veterinary school to tell you this wouldn't have been my career path. And yet I feel I've found one of the most fulfilling jobs I could ever have.
That's really cool. Growing up, did you have any family members that were in leadership type positions that inspired you?
I did not. My father was a human physician, a surgeon, and he's still to this day, very much, just about what he does. And other family members, similar. And so, no, leadership was something that I would say some of my teachers identified a leadership skill within me probably in high school or so. And it just kind of built over time with some realizations that it was something I did really want to pursue.
Are you practicing any type of medicine on the side anymore? Or have you completely put the white coat up?
You know what, I have completely put it off to the side. I tried for the first few years that I left and started in industry, and I have a ton of respect for those who managed to keep doing it. But I found that my skills got rustier, or I wasn't using them as much, and now I find, you know what, I'm probably a lot more useful doing things outside of the exam room than I am doing them in the exam room. Although I do still
Right.
occasionally get to help with a preventive care clinic or things like that, which kind of fills my bucket.
That's cool. I would imagine with all the responsibilities and the things that you have every day too, it's trying to figure out even where you would carve time to put that into the mix of things. And Mars Veterinary Health is, Mars as a whole is a huge organization that we're a lot of moving pieces. And there's people that are always trying to they get into this part of their career too, where it sounds like from the very beginning you started going down that direction of leadership, and you're uh, I don't know, you kind of just fell into it to a certain degree. It just kind of was a thing. And there are people that get to a period of time where uh, they are maybe considering making transitions. They're trying to move, maybe they want to move past medicine, or maybe they want to become an owner, which then involves them also being a leader as well. uh, are there things that like helped you with navigating that transition over time?
Yeah, I think so. So I am I have had a lifetime of experience of trial by fire, or learning through trauma, however you might want to describe it. And I say that, I say that a bit in jest, but certainly I've been thrown into the deep end many times, and it's probably one of the best ways that I have learned. But a couple examples that come to mind for me, in terms of how to make the transition. As I was approaching the point in time in my clinical career where I was looking for something different, one of the ways that I found some satisfaction and additional engagement in my job was to, although I was, just an associate vet in the practice, but it was to step in and find areas that I could lead. So it was, the clinic starting to get AHA certified and offering to step in and drive that process, and finding places where I could raise my hand and take ownership of something. I think I've probably always been the kind of person who liked to feel empowered, or likes to feel like I own something. So that helped. But I
Mm.
also, want to call out that I think there's a lot of there's a lot of opportunities to take on a leadership type of responsibility. I mean, frankly, as veterinarians and as veterinary professionals, our technicians as well, I mean, we are leaders to some degree. People come into a room and they expect us to be able to guide a discussion or guide a thought process. And so it's really just recognizing that you have the skills to do that, and you just need to think about how to transfer them. For me, a couple of those experiences looked like, when I worked in wildlife rehab for a couple of years, and I was responsible for a group of 70 volunteers. And boy, that teaches you a lot about leadership when people are volunteering for you, and you're not
Mhm.
necessarily paying them, but having a chance to walk people through difficult times, and learn that I could motivate them, that we as veterinarians are so purpose driven that that's really motivating to a lot of people. And recognizing that, I could look at a problem and see some of the things that needed to happen, and I could help people step in and find their role in solving that problem. So I think I'll go back to, I think veterinarians have such an amazing skill set, and those skills are really transferable if we take a minute to look around and see how we can apply them.
That's really cool. I complete tangent here as well. You have a lot of energy. How do you keep your energy so high? I would imagine all the demands you got on you all day. Like, what's your secret?
Yeah. It is probably mostly about finding the time to recover and to re-energize. For me, I am a single mom of a couple kids. They're 8 and 10, so they're pretty busy, and I travel a lot. So I do have a lot of demands. And what I've learned over time is that if I don't prioritize taking time for myself, that I cannot meet those demands. And I suppose, again, a little bit of learning through trauma, I've had to get really, really routinized or pretty strict and disciplined with myself as far as that time to recover. I am an introvert at heart. I need to recharge at the end of the day.
Right.
And so I make that happen. And, it's not very sexy. I go to bed at 9 and I wake up at 4:30, to make sure I have time to sleep and I have time to work out in the morning.
Good.
I carve out time during the day to be alone in a room where I can recharge. But I think that's really important is, acknowledging where you get your own energy from, and then really being disciplined in creating the time and space for that to happen, because no one else is going to do it for you.
I agree. Well, it's something too. I was listening to Tony Robbins. I've always gotten pretty big into that guy. He's popping up a lot on my YouTube channel lately, maybe because of the algorithms are making it happen. And it's just so interesting where it's like everyone can find 10 minutes in their day to spend it on themselves. And if you can't, then there's something wrong because it's like there's always an opportunity. And I'm sure everything always seems like a fire and an emergency. And of course,
absolutely,
sometimes they are. I mean, let's be real to it. But oftentimes it's really not. It can be pushed off a little bit, right?
You just I think you called out it's a challenge, but it is an amazing opportunity for veterinarians as well. I think so many are trained to really be hyper vigilant and to be looking for, you're looking for the case that's going wrong, the emergency walking through the door, and feeling like you've always got your priorities are always outside of you. I think I feel like that's true for a lot of the veterinary professionals I talk to. Yes, and we work in a profession where yes, sometimes things are life and death. It's true, but it goes back to that piece. Well, there's two things it goes back to. One is if you don't take care of yourself, you aren't going to sustainably be able to take care of other people. So do you want to burn out, or do you want to do this in a sustainable fashion? And I think most people would say they want to do it in a sustainable fashion. And then I think the other piece is recognizing that we don't have to do it all, that there's resources around us, whether it's people in your work environment, whether it's using AI, there's ways to minimize the amount of work that you have to do. And I am a big fan of Tom, of, just carving out 2 minutes here and there, because you can have a meaningful conversation with somebody. You can, take a couple deep breaths and walk around outside and recharge yourself. You can teach someone a new skill that will change how they feel about, their career, their life. You can do a lot in 2, 3, 4 minutes that isn't taking 30 minutes out of your schedule.
Right. Wow. I love that you say that, because even breathing exercises are quite incredible. And there's one guy I was listening to not too long ago, Huberman. He's very science-based, and he was talking about how to increase your heart rate variability. And I found it very intriguing, because it's like whenever you start getting a very stressful situation, what happens is like your blood starts pumping really fast, your heart rate variability, the time between each heartbeat kind of starts getting shorter and shorter. And is like one thing he had suggested was you breathe in to where you almost fully, your lungs are full, and then you breathe in a little bit more, and then expands your lung cavity to where it expands your heart, which then allows for more blood to flow through your heart. And then you start slowly letting the air out of your mouth to then basically start pushing your cavity back onto your heart, which then starts shrinking the vessels in your heart to help slow down the blood flow. And it's like, it's incredible. Like I've tried it many times where I start getting so worked up, and I'm like, I do it, and then I'm like, man, I just feel like I took a hit of something. I'm like, what just happened here?
That's great. And I'm not familiar with that one, but I'm a big fan of, the box breathing, of breathe in for 4 and hold it for 4 and out for 4 and hold it for 4, and I think a newer realization for me to geek out a little bit on, physiology and data and emotional health as well, though, is to realize that so often what we feel is just a physiological response to, something that's going on. But what we think about that is something that we can control. And breathing is a great way to create that space that lets you really absorb and understand what's going on, and ideally, shift or be intentional about how you react to it, so you react appropriately and not in a overly dramatic way.
Right. Well, being in your role, because I mean, you oversee and have a lot of people that are communicating with you on a regular basis, and I'm a firm believer that every single person is a leader out there. Like they're leading in some form. It could be really leading in their relationship at home. It could be leading with their friends. Leadership sort of gets this very linear thought process to it, to where it's like, hey, I have to be a person who oversees a ton of people in order to be a leader. And, in your world, I'm sure you've identified some people along the way where you're like, yeah, these people really have it. And, they have certain skills and traits. Like, what are things that you've observed that make someone a really good leader, or things that they should develop over time to
Yeah.
become a stronger one?
And I want to touch really quickly on what you said of it doesn't have to be leading a whole bunch of people. I think some of the most powerful leaders are actually people who are leading from within. They're a member of a group, they're a member of a community, and they aren't the recognized leader, but they are bringing those leadership capabilities to life to make the group function better. And actually, I think that's core to how we build good culture too, is to really lean into who we are as leaders within a group. But I think some of the skill sets or traits that I often see as particularly common to veterinarians that make great leaders. I think number one, we tend to be very curious people and lifelong learners. And I think that willingness to accept that there's more, that there's things we don't know, or that there's something new to be learned is a really important part about being a leader. Because leadership is about humility. It's not about knowing everything. It's not about telling everybody what to do. To me, it's about humility and developing others and helping others be their best selves so that you can achieve a better outcome. So I think that learning component is really important. I think we're generally naturally empathetic, and that's also really important. Being able to listen to people and to empathize with their situation so that we can help them navigate a problem. We do that clinically with our clients every single day, but you also do that when you're leading a team of people to help them be their best selves during the day. And I also think our diagnostic capabilities of being able to step back and look at a problem and say, okay, what's the history? What led to this happening? What do I think led to it happening? What do I see happening today? What kind of tests, what kind of questions do I want to ask? That whole process applies to business problems as well as it does to a sick pet sitting in front of you. And sometimes we don't think that. I think I'm just a veterinarian, but actually, no, you're a diagnostician, and that's a business skill. So I think those are some of the skills that most veterinarians hold that really can be brought to life pretty easily to be a great leader, to start on the path of being a great leader.
Right. I love it. There's something that I've observed over time, and I'm curious to get your thoughts and opinion around this. Because of a lot of people in veterinary medicine tend to be very empathetic, and introverted, that being, I've always found that being a leader, sometimes you have to be pretty assertive and definitive in the things that you do. Do you see times that because of people being overly empathetic, that area of assertiveness tends to be dragging sometimes, and it's where they should probably focus on supporting?
Yeah, and I think assertiveness is, I think that would be one way to look at it. I would other terms I might use, or kind of peripheral capabilities would be comfort with conflict or engaging in conflict. Being clear communication, direct communication. I don't know that if I think about my own leadership style, I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm assertive, but I've learned to be very comfortable being clear, being direct, recognizing that, go to Brene Brown and say, clear is kind, helping people know what's expected of them or what's working and not working. It's a lot better to hear that clearly than to have to try to figure it out, through nuance. So I think that's something that can be learned. That's not an innate skill. I was actually I was incredibly conflict avoidant certainly the first, half of my veterinary career. I did not like conflict, and it's something I learned to be comfortable with. So I think that's another piece is, there's so much we can learn to do as leaders. It's just opening yourself up to recognize it's an opportunity, and we all have opportunities. So let's tackle it.
I love it. Yeah, there's a lot of times where, the environment before used to be like a commanding control type of environment where I'm the boss and you go do what I tell you to do. And it seems that, one thing that my executive coach always tells me is that people tend to be more invested in the things they get to co-create with you. And when you're always kind of barking orders at them and they don't really feel invested in what they're doing, then you're going to have some attrition and they might start fizzling out. And so, that's even one area that myself personally, I've taken a lot of observation to.
Yes, I agree completely. And, as I said, I'm somebody who I want to be empowered. I want my leader to, let me own something with them. And so knowing how that drives me differently than someone telling me to go do a task, it's very easy for me to see that others might feel that same way. And I do think that's a really important skill, because not only then are you creating a better output and getting buy-in, but you're developing other people. And I think part of leadership as a responsibility is developing other leaders, mentoring and sponsoring, so that you have a succession plan.
One final thought for you around this too. So like, if you were to give people listening here today an action or something that they could go take to really be able to grow more as a leader or start progressing in the direction of being one, what is something you would suggest?
Yeah, so this may sound odd, but I think, the first thing that I would suggest, I think one of the most powerful things is to open yourself up for self-reflection. And whether that's sitting down yourself and thinking about, who you are, what your journey's been, where you're going, and strengths and opportunities, or preferably, sitting down with somebody, you said, an executive coach, a trusted friend, getting feedback from the people around you. I think leadership starts with that self-awareness, and then you're enabling yourself to then look and understand what other people need, so that you can then lead them on to whatever goal you might have.
That's pretty incredible. Yeah. So self-reflection, we don't do enough of that.
No, we think about what we need to do, not who we are and how we might do it better.
Yeah, there's actually one thing that's just coming to my mind as we talk about this, and where it's whenever we think about stuff too, where it's like, hey, we're going to go do this, or you go to answer something or trying to be more definitive. It's one thing when we make it up in our head, but when we actually do write it down too, there's like a different neurological connection that we have there. That really puts it, like, it makes it more real. And then now it's like you've solidified it. So for whatever use that is for the people who are listening.
I love that because I think I'd say we live in a world that can induce us to want to move faster and faster. And it is a fast-paced world, but the reality is that we're going to perform best by taking that time to perform in the appropriate way, right? Or to act in the appropriate way. So if we don't take that pause, whether it's to recharge or to plan how we're going to go forward, we just run a real risk of just moving for movement's sake.
Yeah. Molly, this has been great. Thank you for talking with me today. Thank you for all of our listeners. I'm sure they've enjoyed this as well.
Thank you so much, Tom. It's great to chat with you as well.
Yeah. And anyone, if you ever get a chance to interact with Molly or have a chance, we'll include some of her stuff in the notes today, so you can be able to get in touch with her or interact with her on social media and some other places. And if you are one of our active listeners, we appreciate you being here. And if you are one of our new listeners, we're glad that you enjoyed this, or you at least joined us here today. If you found that this episode was insightful and helpful in any way, please take a moment to rate and review us on Apple or Spotify, because it really does help us out and other listeners find us. And take this episode, share it with 1 or 3 of your friends so they can hear the same great information that you heard here today. This is Tom Seeko, wishing you a lifetime of financial success. Don't forget to visit our website and sign up for our newsletter. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know about upcoming race-approved CE webinars, podcast releases, short presentations, and articles that we publish. Make sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on LinkedIn, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.